and now takes tourists himself to see these remarkable creatures.
So look at the ocean. There's no landmarks. So what we're looking for is their blowholes. That's where they're breathing out, catches a little bit of seawater above them and sprays up into the air. Now, if you get the angle of the light right, it actually turns into the most beautiful rainbow you'll probably ever see in your life. Oh my God, they're everywhere. There's one out here. He's gonna roll in a minute as well. Got one here, one here. There's probably 5 within the space of 100 meters of her. I can't begin to tell you how special this is for me.
Despite being 300 kilometers inside the Arctic Circle, thanks to the Gulf Stream, the waters here are surprisingly warm. It's thought the whales navigate their way through a huge underwater canyon near the coast, which is up to 3 kilometers deep in places. It's rich in fish stocks, including our friend the cod, as well as one of the sperm whale's favorite foods, deep sea squid.
But what's really interesting is, and it sounds quite counterintuitive, the last thing these guys will do before they dive is breathe out. Now for humans, if we were going to dive to the bottom of the swimming pool, we would obviously take a huge lungful and dive down. But for these guys, they sit up on the surface for 10 to 15 minutes, breathing, 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 and they're re-oxygenating their blood. They don't, however, want a buoyant lungful of air to go down with. It is a sight to behold.
All the whales here are males. The females and calves are to be found much further south near Sørøya. Just like the cod this year, there's evidence to suggest that the whales here are getting bigger. Not only that, they're also much older than people first thought. Back at the office over a cup of coffee, Martin explains how they know this.
We did think that they get 80 to 85. But now we are pretty sure that they can easily be over 100 years and maybe older.
Yeah. How do you know that?
Well, there was a stranding and they found a harpoon metal in their body.
Yeah.
And on the harpoon was written a year, and it was 1870. And they were old harpoons. So you can also say, well, maybe this guy was over 130 years old.
Wow.
So
he's washed up and he's had that in him his whole life.
Yeah, his whole
and that was
life.
1870. And he could have been 20 years older then.
In that time also. So it's speculating, but for sure.
Each whale has a unique tail pattern, and Martin photographs the tail of every whale he sees. These photographs are used as part of the evolving data that helps scientists build a better understanding of these remarkable creatures. Being so close to these giants of the sea on such a regular basis means that he's a dab hand at knowing when to get ready for that crucial moment when he can take his shot.
But what they do in the end is they come up, breathe in first, and then breathe out. And you see the condensated air because the body is warm, and out is cold, so it condensates. This like sneezing every time. And the last blow out, he pushes his head a little bit higher. And that is the moment that we say diving. But sometimes when we have big waves, then they have to go also a little bit more up with the nose to breathe. Yeah. So when we see this, that they go a little bit higher, we say diving, and then they take advantage of the weight of the head to bring it down. Yeah. And then you see what's happening, and they go like this down.
That's when you get the classic tail shot.
And that is when you get the classic tail shot.
Oh, I'm looking forward
It's
to
a bold move to dramatically uproot your whole life and follow a dream. But even just spending a few hours here watching these big old guys slipping below the waves, maybe for a squid or possibly one of those giant cod I'm after, is so dramatic. I can kind of see why you would. After my little detour yesterday to go and see the whales, and that was brilliant. Today is a travel day, so heading north. I have about an 8-hour drive ahead of me. Now, mostly you'd think 8 hours driving, that's a bit of a chore, but actually this is a pleasure. There's hardly any cars on the road, and the landscape is just immense. It's like driving through a tourist brochure. You know when you see the front cover and they always pick the very best pictures to show you? Well, I've pretty much got 8 hours solid of that. There's nothing you don't want to see. We're going through forests, beautiful mountains, ravines, past frozen lakes, fjords. It's unbelievably picture perfect. Well, I've reached Nusfjord, which is as far as I can get on the mainland, so it's time to jump on a ferry. Geir, who has already arrived, has agreed to meet me after this leg of the journey, and from there, he'll take me onto another cod fishing location. I'm finally on the ferry. Next stop, the island of Sørøya. This area is amazing. Yesterday, the very stretch of water we're crossing was alive with thousands of dolphins. That's right, thousands. Apparently, it was like the surface of the water was boiling, which is hard to imagine in these temperatures. It's known as a superpod, and they can be absolutely massive. One in California had an estimated 100,000 dolphins. Of course, today, because I've arrived, there isn't a single one. But it's wonderful to be here just the same. This is Hasvik, the main town on the island, and waiting at the dock is my old friend Geir. Haha! Hey! That was a long day travelling, but Geir's here waiting for me. I think it's time for a bit of dinner and fishing tomorrow. At around 800 square kilometres, Sørøya is Norway's 8th largest island and has a population of just over 1,000. As many sea anglers will tell you, it's where you come to catch big fish, and it is definitely on the angling map. This is where the world record cod was caught. My hosts are husband and wife team Mona and Ahmed, who run a business which specialises in looking after anglers who love big fish.
Coffee?
Over dinner, I begin to realise just how big. That's the record tusk, that's the record redfish, and that fearsome individual is a record wolffish. I think you get the picture. So I've just seen all of the photos from last week. These guys behind me have had probably hundreds. They said they were catching 500 kilos of cod a day, and they've had hundreds that have been over 20 kilos. And it's like a club. You catch one that's over 20, certainly over 30, and they're arguing over which perk to use, and I kind of want to be part of it. And I've got one chance tomorrow, and they've just told me that there's no chance of going out. Last week was great conditions, flat weather, flat seas, no wind, perfect. And the one chance that I had, looks like it's not going to happen. I've come such a long way to be here, and I'm so desperate to be part of their conversation. And that's just the way it goes, I suppose. Right, hang on, I'll find the right size. Here we go. Right, Hooters sounded. Yesterday they told me not happening, not going out. They said, maybe, we'll let you know. And then the next thing I know, woken up this morning, the Hooters sound, we've got a 2-hour window. We've got a 2-hour window to go out. Half of that might be traveling time. Don't know if we're even gonna catch, but don't care. Got one chance. Despite the weather forecast allowing a very short amount of usable fishing time, we're joined by Ahmed and fishing guide Johan, who are keen to help put me on the right spot. You often hear about island communities being friendly, but honestly, the people up here really are amazing. So, time to get fishing. Line's out. Right, this is it. I've come a long, long way for this. Just over 80 meters of water, so that's 80, 62, 40, about 260 feet deep. That is just for, hang on, let me work it out. That is just for comparison, is about, so if you had probably 10 double-decker buses, the long London buses, 10 of them lined up. That's how deep it is. Out here. Oh, no kidding. I've got a pound of lead on here. It takes 2 minutes to drop to the bottom. Just like on our first fishing trip, it's Gare who catches first. Big fish or 5 kilo fish again?
Oh, 6.5.
It's the wrong way round. Ah, he's in the mouth now. Oh, still a good fish. That's one of the best.
Is it?
Be careful over the side there.
It's wild.
Oh, yes. Yes, that's the best one we've had so far.
Okay, I'm glad.
We're getting on for 6, 7 kilos there.
Yeah, I told you 6.5, didn't I?
You did. You know your stuff.
What do you think, Thom? Is it okay? Decent?
Okay, it's perfect. Look at them. I love the eyes, they're so big.
Yeah.
Deep water. Over the radio, I hear that Ahmed and Johan are also having success. All that remains now is for the new boy to get in on the action.
Do you have a fish or not?
Yeah, got one, yeah.
Good.
Just taking my time, Gare.
Yeah.
Come to Papa. Come to the codfather. Right, I can see it.
You see the fish?
Yeah. Right, I'm gonna stand up.
Let me know if you need something from me.
The sea conditions are definitely a bit more choppy than the other day, which means staying on your feet while winding in is a little bit tricky. Come on, baby, here we come. Ah. Good fish, but not a big one. Although we're not catching monsters, the fact that we're able to get out at all is something of a miracle. And the action has been pretty much non-stop. Come on, Gare, I just want to see a 10 kilo plus, that's what I said.
This is a 10 kilo fish.
You promised me.
Yes. Oh, it's a good fish.
It's a good fish. Yes, cod fishing Norway. Not quite the 10 kilos we're after, but I'm getting closer. This one's gonna go back. She was lightly hooked. Biggest lure of the day, smallest cod of the day. Look, it's nearly as long as he is. Ah, yes!
It's fantastic.
Good fish.
Nice fish.
Very nice. There we go.
Fantastic. Very nice. Oh, look at this.
We even have a double hookup. Oh, it's 2 good ones though.
Hey. That's a good double hookup.
Check that out. And the bigger fish took the